In 2020, amidst a challenging pandemic, Churchill students and staff explored ideas for outdoor learning with their partners at VSB. Ideas included revitalizing and indigenizing our garden beds, creating an outdoor learning circle, and a mural adjacent to our garden. Trudy Harris, the Indigenous Education Cultural Coordinator for the Vancouver School Board, knew we wanted to do something special. She reached out to a celebrated Musqueam artist, Debra Sparrow, and we explored the idea of a mural that could celebrate and appreciate the Musqueam land upon which we learn every day. From the first meeting outside in our garden, Debra was drawn to the pillars that support the A wing of our school. And Debra told us the pillars spoke to her as the mural location. These pillars faced the original Musqueam settlement by the river, and the 7 pillars immediately reminded her of the teaching of the 7 sisters. Connection to the land is essential for learning, Debra explained, and the pillars connected to the land to the learning happening every day at Churchill. The mural reminds us that the First Peoples' principle of learning support every person and acknowledges the importance of weaving Indigenous teaching through our learning journey.
Well, I think the reason it came to me was hearing the number 7. Years ago, many years ago, they already had named these 7 cedars down at Stanley Park, and I think through one of the storms, one of them fell, so they phoned Musqueam, and we so graciously said yes, we'll accept it, and a canoe was made from it. And the canoe was so amazing. It won all the races that year and years to come. And it was called the 7 Sisters, and it's embedded in a lot of us who knew that canoe, who watched it race. You know, I really thought it out, and then I thought, well, why don't we make those pillars reflective of the trees? So the brown represents the trunk of the tree, the top of the green is the branches. So then I thought, you know, why don't we create designs that reflect everything the tree's used for schools, for children, for all of us to remember that a tree is not just a tree, it's so giving, so we can't live without them. And you know, this world we're living in today, we're just destroying, and it's letting us know that we can't do this anymore. And so here's what we honored the tree for. So the first one you see here is this beautiful lady who is a sister to all of us and to honor women. And most house posts are made of male house posts. So being that I am a woman, that I would, you know, reflect in this design here, the woman wearing her blanket, you know, just honoring the women and the path that we're on and the responsibility we have to bring back as educators, as mothers, as the earth, Mother Earth herself is reflective. So as we move to the second one, we have a reflection here of how we do all of our work. It's called ads, and if you can see, it's designed, but there's a point here, and that's where they use it to break down the wood and actually start to create, you know, what's going to come from that particular tree. So it's called an ads. So here we have a third one, which is represented again and carved in wood. It's called a spindle whorl, and if you see the circle in the middle, is because there's usually a stick that goes through that, and it's used for spinning the wool. And the wool blankets that we have lit on the woman standing in the front, and the handmade mountain goat blankets that we made, and now today we use sheep wool, and we don't use those spindle whorls anymore, but every spindle whorl was carved and more than likely created by each family for whatever reason that they wanted. So here you have 2 thunderbirds. They're not eagles, but they look like eagles, they're related. And the thunderbird, of course, is the strong representative in our skies, and we heard the thunder this weekend and the lightning, and sometimes he's carrying a lightning rod in his hand, in his claws. So they create that storm that's above us, and so that's what those are called, thunderbirds. This one is representative of our talented, amazing women who make baskets out of the outside of the tree, which is the cedar bark, and we break it down and we pound it and we use it as a thread. So we would make baskets as old as time. And some of them were so beautifully made and so strong that they were watertight, so we could actually boil water in these baskets. How? I've yet to figure that out. It's all about education. It's all about learning and teaching and thinking about how amazing these people were that I even didn't know very well. So now when I think about a basket, I have so much more respect in learning how to weave big blankets and then thinking about the beautiful way in which they wove these amazing baskets. So this is just a basket design that represents that part of, we use the outer part of the tree. This is now the same idea where we take the cedar bark and we pound it and we make it so fine that it becomes a net for fishing. So who would have ever thought back in those days as well, again, that these people would have thought of that. So there's nets made out of cedar. And when the first ship arrived here in 1791, right down by my village in Musqueam, the first thing that they noticed was they said, 7 canoes have come to greet us. And he said, and he wrote and quoted that there's much reflection of fishing in these canoes. So I got really excited about that, because if you can look at that and see just how beautiful and fine it was, and it was reflective of how we caught our salmon back in the day, it excites me that these people who lived here, the ones that I didn't even know, were so talented, so intelligent, so smart to be able to take a tree and create all these beautiful, amazing things that's gifted to us and the respect we have for the trees. So here we have a reflection of the amazing paddle. So the paddle is used, of course, in the canoe, and it's carved, and it's a reflection of how we move through the waters, and all the waterways that you see around this, what you know as the city of Vancouver, were our highways and our roadways, and that's how we moved. Mind you, we did travel. We had huge roadways through from village to village. So this is just a reflection of a paddle. Here we have a reflection of 2 canoes that are reflective of Musqueam and of all the people that lived in the Salish territories. This is how we moved around. We're on our way back to bringing the canoes back into our community for the first time this year. What a coincidence. They've been in races, so we have 2 new canoes in our community, and we've been out with our youth racing. And at one time it wasn't just the youth, it was like all age groups. So I remember when I was a very young girl, my dad was on the canoes and he would be in his 30s, late 30s. So here we have a reflection of that. And around this, you'll see these elements around every pillar, here and down below. And these are elements that are reflective of the inside of that spindle roll we saw. We see it on mountain goat horn bracelets, which were used for regalia, which is how we wear our jewelry. So we would use the mountain goat for making the blankets, and then we would use the horn and take the core out of the horn, cut it in half, and then create beautiful patterns that look similar to this on the horn bracelets. So we would like etch them out. There's 12 of them in the museum in England that our people didn't even know about, because there was such a huge gap between everything disappearing out of our community for assimilation and then it coming back. So you'll see a lot of this kind of elements, they're called Salish elements, on every pillar. You'll also see it on the side over here. So this is kind of a flow of what you see on a mountain goat bracelet. And there's more designing on it usually, but I wanted to be a little bit elegant here for all of you, so I didn't use as much. But let's walk around to the side here, the front view, where you're gonna see, again, those same kind of elements here that I use in many different ways as well. So what I've done over the last 10 years as a contemporary person who is reflecting the beauty of our work is to combine and not separate weaving from sort of graphics. So these are the graphics that we talk about. So I really love to marry them, to bring them together so that they represent our modern day world today that we live in right now. Over here, now what we see is the back of all of the pillars, the 7 of them, and they are representative of blanketing the city. So you're all a part of how that dream came to be. And so these patterns are reflective of our blankets that we made since the beginning of time. And again, we're using fibers. We're going out into our community. I wondered how they could bring fibers into making a blanket. So the core of a lot of the blankets, again, is cedar. So you break it down to like your hair fine, and then you wrap and rove different fibers with it. Anything in the community that can bring warmth to you, can bring protection to you. And blankets are so very important to us. They were and are the foundation of who we are as Musqueam and Salish people. This was done in all Salish communities. And then you had these very complex, beautiful blankets that were reflective of the leaders of every house. And so every house had up to 100 people living in it. It was very communal. So we're a communal people. And today we are an individual people. We're much like everybody else. We have our own house. We have our own way of thinking. And so we've had to really live in 2 worlds. And I'm sure a lot of you have to live in 2 worlds. And if you come from a history that's across the water, or you're speaking 2 languages, or eating different foods, and we're integrating and we're respecting. I think for me, this is what it's taught me through my journey, is the respect of what we should have for each other. And we're at a very crucial time right now where, to me, blanketing is the most important thing, because it gives us a sense of comfort. And through the comfort, we feel stronger and we feel secure. And moving through COVID has been a really tough time for the whole world. And I think we've had to stop and reevaluate who we are as human beings. And I think we need to grow from that. We have to regrow ourselves, much like a tree does. When the seed falls, a new one comes up. And it follows in its previous father or mother tree, whatever it is, and it grows. We have to really think about our history, think about what we want in our communities. And I'm really grateful, and I'm really honored that you all asked me to come and be a part of the 7 sisters here at Churchill School. So my hands are raised to you, Churchill, for asking me to come forward with my dear apprentice. I don't want to call her an apprentice, but I know that's what we do today, is Athena. My grandson Kyler helped, the Mural Fest helped, and most of all, you all helped for doing the right thing and asking us to step forward. So hands up to all of you. Thank you on behalf of my ancestors.